You know, I should have queued up the Star Trek theme music for this. Oh well, live and learn. Let's go ahead and jump in our starship anyway as we talk about PaperCut in the enterprise environment. I'm Doc Balgi, subject matter expert for ACDI, and I'm glad you're here with us today. With me again is Dave Beyer, lead solution architect with our pre-sales team, who will join us for the Q&A session, as well as handling the chats during the presentation. Also want to thank Ryan Husinga, another one of our pre-sales solution architects, for his input on the content today as well. You know, I'm actually certified on many print management applications. Many of the others talk about how great they are in the enterprise environment, probably because they can only be installed on Microsoft servers with SQL Server, so the assumption is that they are enterprise. Many times they will state that PaperCut is just for SMB and small schools because they're not aware of what PaperCut has to offer. So let's take a look at that today and see for ourselves. Pay attention, and you might land a very cool ACDI t-shirt or polo as we ask a trivia question at the end of the presentation with your chance to win. Starship Log 19.6.25. Preparing database for agenda. Launching. Activate elements now. Starship Enterprise customers include the Cubs, Mercedes-Benz, Bowling Green State University, Marathon Oil Corporation, and the Government of Nova Scotia. We're going to look at what makes an organization enterprise. We'll look at traditional components that make up an enterprise network and then pull it all together with what PaperCut has to offer, all of this in the next 20 minutes or so. So thanks for joining today. Here we go. Enterprise, it's a noun, 10 characters, 3 syllables. What does it mean in regards to software? Well, this is from Software Engineering Stack Exchange by Daniel B. Generally, it's a company-wide solution, and that means it will be used wherever a company has an office or a site. So an enterprise license will provide a solution for all of a company's sites. Now, this differs from a site license, which would only cover one location belonging to a company instead of all of them. Now, another use of the term enterprise is simply to indicate an entire company. It's not necessarily limited in definition to something software related. So, I mean, you could have software, HR, accounting. You could even have a supply of jelly beans for the enterprise. When used in either case, the word enterprise in relation to the size of a company isn't relevant, as it applies equally to a small business as it does to a megacorp. Or you could have a starship named Enterprise too, but that's a different story. Enterprise solutions of software are intended to be packed full of the sort of features that you typically need to suite a multi-site, multi-server solution of some sort. In some cases, however, you'll find it's just as likely to mean that you're expected to pay more to get more of the features that you probably wouldn't need in a smaller enterprise. And therefore, the word becomes as much of a marketing hyperbole as anything else. So the issue of the word being used vaguely or loosely is really a bit of a non-issue, since the term enterprise is always intended to mean company-wide, regardless of the number of sites you need to service. Except enterprise is clearly much less of a mouthful to say. So the word enterprise in a software setting most often refers to software being written for a large corporation. It also often refers to internal software rather than client-facing software. Now, this may seem like an arbitrary line to draw, and of course, what exactly is large? But the needs of large businesses is different to the needs of small companies, which is again very different to the needs of individuals. Issues that are often irrelevant, or rather not worth investing in for many small companies, include high availability, and seamless failover, compliance to laws and regulations, real-time monitoring, rich trace information for troubleshooting, visibility or a focus on reporting. It's typically allowing for intelligent management, privacy of customer data, scalability. Now, scalability is a matter of many factors. And I wouldn't call software badly designed if it didn't meet conditions it was never planned or designed to meet. Does the software work distributed across many servers? Well, that's PaperCut. Does it parallelize its workload well? PaperCut. Does it localize text so it can be used in many countries? PaperCut. Will it build and run on different hardware? PaperCut. Are there many consultants or programmers who can use or modify it? PaperCut. All these and more are big factors in how useful a software is to an enterprise depending on that customer's specific needs. Like, can it be tailored to the look and feel of the company? Does it work with other software that the enterprise is using, and will it fit into their redundancy or disaster recovery policies? Is it future-proof? In other words, are there updates and revisions to the software to ensure that it's compliant, maybe with Windows updates, for instance? Now, as to why smaller companies do not have or need some of these features can really boil down to cost in many cases. I would hazard a guess that this is because the overheads and profits of a large company are on a completely different scale. If a small company's payrolls go offline, you can pay by hand or apologize to everyone personally. But if it happens in a large corporate, there's an uprising. I read a story about a bank throwing around numbers like several millions of dollars being lost per hour until a bug was found. Now, that really puts the perspective on things. And reliability is a big thing for most large companies, at least on paper. So putting all these pieces together describes enterprise software typically as internal facing. This is not their website. It's how they get work done in the organization. It's either mission critical and or used by many people throughout the business. It's not a specific application for an individual user. It's software that's used by many in the entire workplace. Many times it's integrated with other internal and or external facing systems for authentication, billing, reporting, and many other functions. And enterprise software doesn't necessarily have to be implemented in a large company. An example might be an electronic medical record system that's at a small doctor's office. It's integrated with hospital lab systems and insurance claims processing systems. There's only a few people in the office and connected to enterprise systems. Some more PaperCut enterprise customers include Goodwill, Harvard University, and LG. What does it take to run an enterprise system? As we've learned, enterprise systems are for internal use by many, typically integrated with other software and mission critical. Larger systems will need to think about configuration management. Now, that's a process for establishing and maintaining consistency of a product's performance, functional, and physical attributes with its requirements, design, and operational information throughout its life. Whew. Thank you, Wikipedia. You also need to maintain legacy while providing current. With system changes, updates, and upgrades, it's critical to the network admins to be able to provide full functionality to all users, whether they're on an older system or just handed a brand new laptop. Enterprise systems need to be able to keep up with the times while keeping everyone on the ship on the same course. Everything's a database, and they need to function properly so data can flow back and forth seamlessly. Database management is a key component in the enterprise space, with more and more using products other than Microsoft as their choice of databases. There's a lot that goes into the operating system choice. And any software introduced needs to be able to perform on their selected platform. It's not safe anymore to think that everyone is on a Microsoft platform. Linux is a very popular choice for enterprise servers these days. BYOD and/or company-provided mobile devices are becoming the norm, with more and more companies letting employees roam around their campus to interact and collaborate. Communication protocols and standardization attempts are necessary, yet often difficult to implement due to rapidly changing system designs. And where do you put all this stuff? Big data is a reality. And while the cost of storage is down, you might need to implement rules or restrictions for that data or move data to the cloud so it's more accessible to the end users. Network monitoring. It's essential to make sure everything is running smoothly. Great dashboards can help make data available for easy viewing of what's going on. And to do all this stuff, you need people. FTEs, or full-time equivalents, can be needed for all facets of an organization. And if they're practicing separation of duties, then that adds an extra layer of employees. Speaking of dashboards, that leads us right into PaperCut. The centralized dashboard can help with configuration management for your printing, allowing an administrator to copy settings like print scripts to ensure everyone is in compliance. PaperCut itself is backwards compatible and always has been. This way, if you have older print systems on the network and older clients, PaperCut can still help you manage and track them while providing the same for new systems just purchased. PaperCut ships with its own database, Apache Derby, and PaperCut is also compatible with virtually any other database, Oracle, Postgres, MySQL, and SQL Server, to name a few. Now, this allows PaperCut to be integrated into current systems for compliance and backup purposes. And PaperCut can also be installed on any OS or combination, important with many networks moving to Linux to provide better stability and performance. And it can be installed in a private cloud, too, no problem. PaperCut will work with what the enterprise has. Nothing needs to be changed to implement PaperCut in the environment. Just ask other enterprise accounts that use PaperCut, like the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts of America, plus Gorilla Glue. You've heard me rave about mobility print. Again, mobility, because it's not just smartphones and tablets. It's laptops, MacBooks, and Chromebooks, too. This is what caught Google's attention, and you can check it out on PaperCut's blog. Search for Dallastown, that's one word, and mobility, and you should find it with a reference to PaperCut being a Google for Education premier partner. There's so much talk about security these days, and it's critical in the enterprise space. PaperCut can easily run on HSTS. That's HTTP, Strict Transport Security. And this way, it'll be encrypted HTTPS-based browser access and force the use of HTTPS/SSL throughout the enterprise. Many administrators today are moving to cloud-based storage to help ease the burden off their own network. With easy connectivity back to the workstation, it makes sense to invoke cloud scanning with the manufacturers that support it in PaperCut. And there's more coming soon from what I hear. This way you can make scanning consistent across all devices, even if it's a mixed fleet. PaperCut can scan to a user's email address or home folder easily, as well as many cloud storage locations like Dropbox, Box, Drive, OneDrive, and Evernote, with the capability to add more on the fly with PaperCut's continuous delivery. Now, that's an important computing concept to help keep your software always up to date. Mobility print and job ticketing also use continuous delivery inside of PaperCut. Also built into PaperCut is the Health Monitor. These are endpoints that you can add to consoles like PRTG, so you can add PaperCut to your NOC and ensure everything is always at peak performance. And with PaperCut, you don't need to add an extra FTE or two. Once PaperCut is set up, there really isn't much to maintain. It just rides on top of the print architecture, tracks what's going on, and provides automated reporting. With what PaperCut has to offer, it's no wonder that the University of Michigan, the City of Fort Worth, Mercer, and others use it. PaperCut is flexible with the operating system and can be installed in a hybrid situation as well. And since PaperCut works with the native system, redundancy can be set up through the OS, and PaperCut will respect that. Site servers are now included with PaperCut's simplified pricing, so high availability is there right out of the box. And since it only takes about 15 minutes to set up a secondary print server, you can see how easy it is to scale PaperCut up in any environment. Global instances of PaperCut might require multiple application servers, or perhaps you have disparate systems. Again, multiple application servers at no extra charge other than professional services can be deployed to meet the needs of larger enterprise environments. I mentioned external databases before, and it's an important concept when discussing enterprise setups of PaperCut. PaperCut can integrate with most databases currently being used in the enterprise space, and we're not limited to SQL Server. This way, PaperCut can be joined with other applications running in the environment and could be an important factor for IT to determine whether or not to implement PaperCut. Plus, another mention of mobility print. Seriously, if you're not aware of the power of PaperCut's mobility print, then shame on you. No soup for you. It's been out for 2.5 years and has matured quite nicely. It's a go-to for law firms, shared office space, and can be the thing that's needed to solidify your PaperCut sale in an enterprise environment. Let's talk about ERP. Many ask us about Citrix, medical record applications, and other systems like Epic, SAP, AS400 jobs, and so on. All of these are coming from enterprise applications, so the question comes up all the time: can PaperCut work with these systems? In short, the answer is a resounding yes. In a way, there's nothing magical about something printing from enterprise systems. It's still a print job, and depending on how it's configured, PaperCut can have access to the job data. Well, how does PaperCut work with these systems? There's basically 2 criteria that must be met in order for PaperCut to track and control print jobs from something like this. The first criteria is that the print job must be moving through a print spool system being monitored by PaperCut. Now, this step can be accomplished in one of 2 ways. A job can be redirected using the LPR-LPD protocols to a print server being monitored by PaperCut. This could be a Windows server running the PaperCut LPD service or a Linux server running CUPS. Or you might have a print queue being used by the software that's a Windows or Linux print queue, and PaperCut's print provider component can be installed on that server. Criteria number 2, the print job contains user-level information. This could be by how it was delivered to the print spool system, or it could be PGL or other header information contained in the spool file. Now, if we just have criteria 1, that's the print job being monitored, then we can track volume and have limited control of the print jobs through the system. If we have both criteria, that's the print job being monitored, and username information in the spool file, then we can do advanced workflows such as Find Me, secure printing, delegated release, and much more. Personally, one of the biggest challenges you have with PaperCut is the open knowledge base, or I should say one of the biggest advantages, not a challenge. This is an advantage. Hard to believe that you don't even need a login or an account to access information. Everything is very transparent as PaperCut wants you to have the info. There's a great article on multi-server, multi-site deployment. Search for that in the knowledge base. www.papercut.com/KB. And you'll see diagrams like the one shown, as well as different scenarios and best practice for the installation. There's even articles on clustering and high availability. I mean, really, who does that? PaperCut, of course. The thing is, don't be afraid to talk about PaperCut in an enterprise environment. It's not just for SMB and small schools. PaperCut is scalable and resilient enough for any environment. Now, I'll name drop a bit here so you can see a sampling of the many enterprise setups that are already in existence with PaperCut. And if your resources are not strong enough, don't worry. ACDI has your back. Most of our employees are professional service engineers. ACDI has the breadth and know-how to easily assist you. Pre-sale specialists and solution architects are on staff, so you can discuss how to organize things, be available for calls, and in general provide the support you need for successful enterprise implementations, and they can be a lot of fun too. When you start seeing jobs on the dashboard and you know everything is being accounted for, it's an exciting time. You know, we were just working with one of our enterprise customers that did 87,000 prints just a couple of days ago in one day with over 47 million pages accounted for. And when we ran the savings report on unreleased jobs with Find Me in Place, there was over $738,000 saved because PaperCut was in place. So you can see how PaperCut can be used in all spaces, from a small business with a few employees to thousands of users. Easily set up, and the best thing is, it just works. Thanks for joining us today. Dave Beyer is standing by to assist in answering your questions for those of you live, and we'll get to that right after the trivia question coming up next. I'm the doctor for ACDI.